Hey everyone, welcome to r/Tales from Tech Support, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged. Like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. Magic Internet. Today, a user came by the office to get a laptop to use at home. He came by so we could log him in and show him how to access and use the VPN. I got him logged onto the computer and then got him on an outside network so we could use the VPN to show him how to access it at home and pull things up. After going through everything and him being comfortable with the steps, we informed him that instead of using the Wi-Fi we were on, he would just need to sign into his Wi-Fi at home, then repeat all the other steps we did to access the VPN, and his work-related documents and programs. He looks at me confused and said he didn't have Wi-Fi at home. Confused, I told him he could plug directly into his modem or access his internet the way he usually does at home, but he would need to do that before he would be able to access anything through the VPN. He looked at me with a straight face and said, "I don't have internet at home." I asked him how he was going to use the computer at his house then, to which he replied, "I just thought the computer would just automatically connect without internet access." What? I don't know how old this user was, but I can't imagine not understanding that you need some kind of access to get to the internet. Whether it's an internet service provider at your home through cable, dial-up, which is still a thing, but I'm not quite sure you're ready for VPN if that's what you got. Satellite, mobile data, anything. Oh well. You're wasted right now. Can you start Monday? Hello, once again, y'all. I bring you a tale less about a specific issue. Instead, it's a tale about a supervisor who sees one's worth and being valued in the workplace. I'm not entirely sure if some of you will read it and weep for what could be, or if it'll brighten up a dark day somewhere. But either way, here goes. My workload has been split as of late. Just over a year ago, I took over the department, being the only person left, that handles manual orders. Lots of copy, pasting, keeping in mind processes and contracts, etc. Then I became the de facto support for an old system. I also assisted the service desk in evaluating when a vendor cried about a ticket being an incident, unpaid, instead of a service request, paid. I then also started working on a new service management tool project, and helping out where I could there. This Wednesday I'd scheduled a meeting with my supervisor to discuss my future. I'm a consultant with a 6-month contract that keeps getting renewed, and they need my skills in the project in the future. I went in expecting to have to convince him of this, and that the company would benefit from hiring me on directly. The meeting opens with small talk, and then we get down to business. Supervisor, I believe that your talents are completely wasted in your current position. I'd like you to drop all the ordering tasks and focus on project full time. After release, I see you moving into the role of application maintenance lead, with some development thrown in there where there's time. Me. Yes? Yes, definitely yes. Supervisor. Great, can we start Monday? Me. Yes. What about my old tasks? Supervisor. I already checked with your backup and her supervisor. They're fine with reversing the situation. So you're her backup when she's sick or on leave, freeing you up to work on the project full time when that isn't the case. Me. Right then. Thank you. The team is then informed. The developers let out a slightly shocked laugh, saying that they were sure I was already 100% on the project. The fact that I was 25% or less baffled them. I guess I do good work. Not that I'm free from tech support. My current headache is that when you press the submit button on a form, it correctly complains about mandatory fields not being filled in. If you press it again, it goes through with no fields filled. Why? I have a suspicion, but my initial test to see if it was the case failed. Too long didn't read. Sometimes you're valued in the workplace. Well, good for you, OP. It sounds like you were all kind of worried about nothing, but I get it. A lot of contract people end up very disappointed at the end of their contracts, or end up getting abused through their contracts, and then the companies want to keep abusing you afterwards. So yeah, I get it. User thinks printed paper works like in the Harry Potter movies. Context. We're a third-party IT tech support for a few companies. This is from one of the worst contracts we have. We had to change all users' email passwords for safety reasons. We printed a spreadsheet with the passwords for their manager so they can ask her if they need to. But they require a new email for an employee that works there after we printed the spreadsheet. Here's how it goes. Manager: Hello, Hamrock. I need your help. Why isn't employee number 21's email and password not in the spreadsheet? I can't find her password. Can you help me? Me: Okay, so I know this email we created after the spreadsheet was printed. Do you know where it is in your OneDrive? We probably updated it there. Manager: It's not there. I checked everything. Me: I'm going to remote access to your computer, okay? I watch the screen while I do it. I access her computer, go to the OneDrive folder where the spreadsheet is, open it, and it's there. Me: You said you checked, but I see it right here. Manager: Oh, I just checked the paper. Thanks for helping out. Ticket closed. Just another day in the job. Yeah, I'm not sure how people think that the paper is going to update automatically by itself. This laptop hasn't worked for 2 years, and we haven't mentioned that at all, but now we want a new one. The IT department of my work isn't so much a department as it is just me given free range over what amounts to a fairly large patchwork home network. I started there a year ago. The previous 2 IT people were actually the electricians that happened to know a bit about computers. Improvements are ongoing. I had the manager from the rental department come to me a couple months ago asking if he could get a laptop to work on, instead of using their POS system. They wanted to print labels to their printer. Seemed a reasonable enough request to me. I made some bad joke about him being tired of using his own laptop. Manager was confused. He didn't have a laptop. I asked about the one sitting on the desk of his office area. Apparently none of the USB ports worked on it, and it was slow. Okay, well, I'll look at that one. Basically, everything under Universal Serial Bus Connections in the device manager was disabled. I re-enabled them, and lo and behold, the USB ports suddenly work. I cleared out some of the excess junk installed to the computer. So many toolbars: Norton Security, Office 2010, and Open Office Suite, and LibreOffice, and a handful of games. No viruses, at least. It had been like this for 2 years, 1 year of which I had been working there. The first couple months of which I spent trying to inventory the network, and was going around asking each department to show me any computers, printers, etc. that they had and if there were any issues with them. Long story short, Rental has a perfectly good laptop now. Yeah, like if you got a tech person, or whatever you want to call them in your company, the person that helps you with your computers, even if they're not officially tech, why wouldn't you bring this to their attention? Say, hey, listen, I got this laptop. It's old, slow, the USB ports don't work. Can you do something about this? What do you want me to do with this thing? It's a paperweight at this point. Something. Why wouldn't you, holy cow. Even just to get it out of my own way, I'd just hand it to them, say, here, see if we can use this somewhere else or whatever. Computer won't boot. It just starts and shuts down. In all the years I've been doing support, this call was unique. An attorney calls me to say her laptop isn't working. Every time she tries to start it up, it just crashes. So I ask her to go through it with me on the phone, because often miracles happen and everything works. So she turns on the laptop, tells me she can see the boot screen, she sees the Windows screen, and then, bam, the computer's off. So she takes her hand off the power button. What? Me, you're holding down the power button? Attorney: Yes, isn't that what you told me to do? Me: Only when the PC's frozen and needs to be shut down. Attorney: Oh, look, it works now. Oh, no words. User hasn't received any scans from the last 6 months. So once upon a time I worked as a sysadmin for a financial tech company. An important thing to note about such firms is they tend to have large operations departments that effectively consist of former bank staff, so not the most tech-savvy folks. There was this one woman in operations who was clearly good with numbers, but not much else, including speaking to other humans. Most of the time if she spoke to you, it would just be a hurried mumble. So anyway, one day she comes over, and all I picked up was, "It won't scan," obviously meaning one of the office printers and scanners. I get up to go over to the printer, scan a test page, which then gets emailed to my inbox as an email from myself to myself. I've determined at this point that scanner works fine, so I head over to the user to have a look. She mumbles at me that she hasn't received any scans for the last 6 months. Really weird not to mention it or raise a ticket for 6 months, but whatever. Anyway, I get her to pull up her mailbox. Instantly, I spot a folder in her inbox with her name as the name of the folder. There are 300 plus unread emails in there. Every single one of them was a scanned document from the last 6 months. She must have created a rule way back so that anything she sends to herself gets sent there. I turned and just looked at her, and all I got was, "Oh, thank you." So a female Boonhour. Nice. Won't scan. An issue 10 plus years in the making. IT director at a school. I got a call recently that the fax wasn't working. A staff member had been trying it since December, and only now came to me thinking it's not just the number she was trying. It's our fax line itself. First time this is coming up. You can tell how often we use the fax. Anyway, the timing links up to when we were doing some phone and other updates, so I called the company who did them, and we started investigating together on site. We start pulling the fax line from the ceiling and notice that across the room the phones have all shut off. Odd, because there's no direct connection between this line and the new lines over there. Or there shouldn't be. We look in the ceiling and the ugliest splice job comes to light. Several different places all spliced together. One led to the fax machine, and one led to the new phone and some door buttons we spliced off of that phone. It turns out someone, 10 or more years ago, pulled from one line without marking accordingly, and made a new jack again without marking that he had spliced off an existing line. The extra load that we put on what we thought was a pristine jack caused the fax line not to work. Thankfully, we had a spare cable run nearby from the project work, so we were able to adjust fairly quickly. What a hassle. Yeah, that sounded like a guy either just putting his time in or a moron. A disgruntled employee on his way out doing a splice like that? I don't know. I've never seen such a thing from anybody even remotely calling themselves a professional. I bet you even block nslookup. I was an ops analyst in the SOC of a finance company when a user, known pain in the butt, called in. He was a big-time trader for tech software stocks. One of those knows just enough to be dangerous kind of guys, full of unwarranted confidence. So dude calls in complaining about some link being blocked, and naturally this was specifically done to him, and I needed to drop everything, go back in time and unblock this site for him yesterday, so he wouldn't have to go through this hassle. So I apologized for blocking the site. Cause, of course. And I told him I submitted the site to be scanned and reclassified by our proxy service, and I would let him know as soon as a decision was made. And then he complained some more. But then he uttered the golden, scathing words, "And I bet you even block nslookup." At first I was confused. I didn't know what to say to that. I knew we blocked CLI from normal users, so I kind of stuttered, yes? And then it hit me. He wanted to run nslookup to get the IP of the blocked website, thinking that if he put in the address bar, it would somehow magically bypass our proxy service. So I apologized once again for company policy, blocking CLI access for non-IT staff, and offered to give him the IP and hung up. I gathered my coworkers and we all had a great laugh as we watched our proxy logs alert on the blocked IP. He didn't call back. Somebody's always looking for an angle, man. Always trying to get a workaround. Laptop frozen. Hey, it's me again. People seem to like my last post, so I thought I'd share another case of woeful ineptitude. Me, service desk, how can I help you today? User, my laptop froze and I can't do anything on it. I was in the middle of typing up a Teams message and everything just froze. I tried doing Ctrl-Alt-Delete to get the task manager, but nothing came up. I tried turning it off, but nothing works, and it's still stuck. Help! Me, please, can you try doing Ctrl-Shift-Escape for me? User, nothing changed. Me, okay, do you need anything saving or is everything already saved? User, no, I only had Teams open. Me. Okay, in that case, could you please switch off the power button until the laptop turns off? User. Okay, hang on, let me just get some help as it's plugged in under the table and there's loads of cables. Me. Hang on, why are you switching it off, unplugging it at the wall? User. You told me to switch off the power button, which I told you I did earlier and it didn't work. Me. Well, yes, it wouldn't work because it's a laptop. User. Just hang on while I get help to do this. Me. No. You don't need to do that. User. But that's what you told me to do. Me. No, I told you to hold down the power button on the laptop until it switches off. Switching it off and unplugging it at the wall won't do anything as it's a laptop, and laptops have batteries. User. Oh, so what do you want me to do? Me. Hold down the power button on the laptop until it turns itself off. User. Okay, I'm doing that now. The laptop turned off. User turned it back on again. Everything was good. I logged the ticket and posted this on Reddit. Too long didn't read. Unplugging/switching off a laptop from the socket will not turn it off. Well, to be fair, OP, if you pull the plug from the wall and pop the battery, it will turn off, if it has a removable battery. But your way definitely is the much simpler way. Happy feed on an angry user. So many years ago, when I had a lot more hair, I had a job as a tech support guy for 3 states' offices of a national nonprofit. Those of you who have been breathlessly following my tales would recognize this is the nonprofit with all the dead laptops that I embarrassed my boss to replace. I lived in the middle state and would generally hit the western neighbor state every Tuesday and the eastern neighbor every Thursday. After the first few visits, where I did inventory, found out which computers were being used and which ones were just acting as bulky, low-powered space heaters, etc., a site visit would take 3 hours if I had no coffee. If I pushed, I could do the backups, check each user for complaints, and be back on the road in just over an hour. The office manager of the western state never liked me. Maybe I looked like her ex-husband. I don't know. But she was just short of insulting on the phone and not much better in person. Whatever, I don't have to love my users. I just have to keep them doing nonprofit things. I'll call her Clara, since that's not her name. Clara called one Monday, steaming mad. You broke my computer. You broke my computer. I asked, I'm sorry, why didn't you tell me Tuesday before I left? Not then, just now. I was about 100 miles away from her computer. That's 160 kilometers for more civilized folks. My resume is pretty good, but carefully avoids claiming that I can telekinetically break a computer from such a distance. Our nonprofit was proudly up to date with computers and infrastructure that would have been current 20 years before this story. No remote management of any sort. So I was a bit mystified. Over the next few minutes, I gleaned that she had been working on a mainframe session. Mainframe was at national office, well outside of my power, and was working for others in her office. Suddenly the mainframe window went blank, and it was obviously my fault. Clara had powered past angry, was comfortably in the enraged part of the dial, and was building towards homicidal. I spent several very pleasant minutes trying to walk her through troubleshooting before reporting to my boss that I was driving one state over to fix whatever this problem was as quickly as possible. 2 hours of driving, listening to the radio, thinking happy thoughts, and really not looking forward to dealing with Clara. Clara's PC passes all the quick tests. It was running, temp was fine. No obvious virus activity. No network. The network cable was unplugged at the wall. No, it was yanked out of the wall, with the handy little tab broken off. I had a very vivid mental picture of Clara having done this so that she could use it to garrote me? I'm going to say berate me, I don't know. But a more likely story was that it had gotten kicked loose. I replaced it, tucked the new one right up against the wall, verified network, and had her try it. She grunted something that could have been gratitude and was more likely disappointment at the anticlimactic end, and she returned to work. I did my western state chores. I was here, might as well get more than 6 minutes of work in to justify half a day on the road. Then I returned home. The next morning I had 4 increasingly vitriolic voicemails from Clara. It was broken again. How useless could I be to not be able to make it last more than a day, etc. I didn't bother to call, I just got in my car. The cable was yanked loose again. This time I taped it down. I only had masking tape, but that should work, right? I went home. Voicemail was waiting for me when I got there. This was in the days when only drug dealers and the like had cell phones. I turned around and drove back. The cable was, of course, out of the socket. But the tape also looked like somebody had been tap dancing on it. Clara had happy feet. She didn't realize that her feet ran about 5 miles a day while she was at her desk. Nervous energy, I guess. Maybe sublimating her towering rage. I showed her what had happened, how to plug the cable back in, and where I had stashed 3 spare cables. If the walls weren't concrete, I would have stapled the cable out of reach, but the office layout didn't give me many options. She was not interested in rearranging her office in any way. I drove home and didn't stop at the office. I didn't want to see that voicemail light. It was waiting for me the next morning. I picked up my headset like I was grabbing a snake of unknown species, and listened to her voicemails. I longed for the good old days when other people left me voicemail, and seldom disparaged my skills, intelligence, education, and character. I called her. After a pleasant few minutes discussing my many shortcomings, I asked her to look at the network cable. "It's plugged in! This is something else!" 2 more hours driving up. The cable was unplugged. I stared directly in her eyes, plugged it in, and left. I hadn't said a word. I drove to a local hardware store and bought a hot glue gun. Then I used 4 sticks of hot glue, securing it tightly to the wall. The cable didn't touch the floor, and there was in fact no cable not covered with glue from the outlet to behind the computer. Never heard from her again. My mileage reimbursement for all the driving came to within about $10 of my bi-weekly salary check that pay cycle. How does she not know that she's ripping the cable out? I'm not sure how you could do that without feeling it. You're getting your feet tangled and stuff. Or is she just getting agitated because she's, somehow her feet are magically finding that cable, getting a little bit hung up. Maybe she's snatching her foot back in disgust. I don't know, but I can't imagine somebody ripping a cable out that often. Although, I don't know. I did have a coworker once in an office I worked in who kept ripping her phone cable out. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you've enjoyed this content, please do me a favor and would you consider giving us a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and maybe clicking that bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya!